Hello there, metalheads, and welcome to the Metal Verbalizer podcast. Today we're gonna verbalize a power metal band from Sweden called Axenstar. Axenstar started in 1998, and back then they were named Power Age. And during this time, there was a lot of member changes, so the lineup didn't really stay the same. But in 2001, they decided to change name, and then they changed to the name Axenstar. And over in 2002, they released their debut album with Arise Records in Spain called Perpetual Twilight. And the album got really good reviews all over, which is amazing for a debut album. And I've listened to the album myself, and it's a really good album. I really like it actually. And that album got them to play on Motala Metal Festival, which is a huge deal. It was their biggest gig at this point, and playing on a festival as this new of a band. I mean, the band is only 4 years old at this point, so playing on a festival is huge because it can give you a lot of new listeners. But yeah, after they recorded the third album, which they did like 1 or 2 years later, they actually got to play at an even bigger festival, which was Sweden Rock Festival, which is almost like Wacken of Sweden. It's the biggest festival that we got over here. So that's huge. And over in 2004, they got the chance to go on an European tour as an opening band for a band called Falconer. But their current bass player, Magnus, were unable to go on this tour, so they had to get a stand-in shape of Joakim Jonsson. And he is known from bands like Skyfire and The Mist of Avalon. And that worked out great during that tour. So, and I think it's really nice when bands can lend over members when shit hits the fan for another band, just to help them end the tour. We saw that with, like, for example, Axl Rose that joined AC/DC for the end of the Rocker Boss tour. I love that. It's awesome. But unfortunately, in 2005, after their third album was released, both of their guitar players had to leave the band, unfortunately. And as far as we know, it was only because of personal reasons and not from disagreements or fights in the band. And I think that's great. As sad as it sounds when a band brother or sister needs to leave their band, it's always nice to hear that it is like they part ways as friends, and that it doesn't have to do with disagreements or like fights in the band. So it's always nice that we can part ways as friends. Since their contract with Arise Records at this point, which was for 3 albums, ended, they moved to a German label called Massacre Records. During this time, they got together with their new guitarist, Joakim Jonsson, which I believe is the same guy that jumped in for Magnus earlier on the Falconer tour. Might it be that? Back then he was bass player, but now he joins as a guitarist. I think it's the same guy. But after their 4th album, it was time for Magnus, the bass player, and Peter on drums to leave the band. This is a little setback for the guys, but a few months down the line, they found a new drummer by the name of Thomas Olsson. And Thomas actually was the one to find the new bass player as well. And his name was Henrik Sedell, which Thomas had played with before. And this seems like the band was back on track again. And in 2007, they played 3 shows with Nocturnal Rites, actually, in Sweden. And although this went well, and they had a great time, it seems like, sometime after this, they lost their new members of the band, which was Thomas and Henrik then. And even though they lost half of the band, with the Power 2, they started to write a new album. And in 2008, Magnus and Joachim recorded their new album and also got joined by the drummer Adam Lindberg and guitarist Jens Klövgård. And in 2010, they went on a new German label called Rock It Up, and in 2011, they released their next album and went on a little mini tour in the UK with Ascension. And in 2012, now we are finally 10 years down the line, and it's time for their anniversary of their first album, their debut album. So 2012, they did an anniversary show. Since it was 10 years after the release of their debut album, which we call Perpetual Twilight. And a really cool idea was that they invited the original members of the band that they had back in 2002 when they recorded Perpetual Twilight. And they invited these members to play on stage and play some of the tunes from the album. And I think that's really good because, as we talked about before, the band members left all in good spirit, and everybody was friends. So then they could come back and play again on the stage with the guys. And I think this is a really cool idea. They had a lot of member changes throughout the years, but in my opinion, it seems like they have stayed pretty consistent with the quality of the music that they pushed out. Because they have pushed out some really, really good music. And me as a guitar player, I play guitar myself, and I can't listen 5 minutes without needing to grab the guitar and play a few tunes myself. And when you are a band that successfully create that feeling, that feeling that for a musician to, oh shit, this is so damn good, so I need to pick up the guitar myself and rip a few riffs or something. That creating that feeling, that there's something magic with it, and it's hard to really create that. And I think that they have done a really good job. I mean, your head starts bobbing, your foot starts tapping, and then you're done. You need to pick up the guitar and play a few songs. Maybe not on this level. Jesus Christ, these guys know what they're doing with their instruments. Because they seem to be really talented guys, and you have to be if you're gonna actually get to play on festivals and that kind of stuff. And if I'm gonna talk about a little bit of my favorite tunes, like Honor and Victory from the album End of All Hopes, which is their latest album that they have released, and I believe that's released during 2019. So there have been a few years now that we haven't gotten new music. So maybe we're gonna get new stuff from them. I don't know. I don't have any gossip on that, unfortunately. But I also like Legions, which is a really good song, also from the same album. It's actually the first track of the album. And then Curse of the Tyrant is awesome as well, which comes from Where Dreams Are Forgotten. And Perpetual Twilight, of course, from their debut album, which is the title track, which actually comes as the final outro of the album. And then I'm gonna look it up real quick for you guys, because also I believe it is Seeds of Evil, it might be their track, is more of an instrumental track, also from Perpetual Twilight. And I really like that, because that track is completely instrumental, and it's only the synth and the guitars. And the guitars play a more clean sound, rather than the usual high gain, fast paced. It's a little slower track, just a great composition. But to be honest with these guys, when I because I've listened through their stuff a little bit like that, and when I started listening to these guys, I started listening on one song, and I thought like, oh, this is pretty cool stuff, and like I really liked it. Like shit, these guys can play, and then the next song comes on, and you're like, holy shit, like this is awesome as well. And the next song comes on, what the heck, this is awesome, this is good shit. So that has been the feeling almost throughout their whole like line of music that they have released. And I think it's awesome that even though they have had all of these lineup changes, they have actually successfully stayed really consistent, in my opinion, with the quality of stuff. So yeah, and we can actually talk about their current lineup. Their current lineup is Joakim Jonsson on guitar, and we got Magnus on vocals and bass, and we got Jens Klövergård on guitar, and we got Hampus Fast on drums, which is, as far as I know, the newest member of the band, and he actually got in the band in February 2019. So that seems cool, and yeah, well, this is pretty much all I have for you guys at the moment, and this fantastic band. If you like what we're doing here, talking about a little bit more unknown, that this band is maybe a little bit more known, and I played a few festivals and that kind of stuff, but our goal is to talk about unknown bands and smaller bands. If you like what we're doing here, please follow us on our socials and hit us up over there, so maybe we can talk about your band next, because we're always searching for new bands to play. So hit us up if you know a band that you want us to talk about. Please hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and just name out the band. Because we're always searching for new bands to talk about. So hope you had a great time with this fantastic band. I had a fantastic time as well. And I see you guys in the next episode, or another episode. So bye for now. Have a good one.